What would make this an especially useful conversation for you today?
I'm just kind of stuck on like where to get started. I see all these things on Facebook with the community, and I have like no clue what everyone's talking about. So I'm Googling stuff, but I'm just really trying to get started. And the reading comprehension part seems to be my biggest struggle when I took like the practice test.
What's your approach to reading comprehension currently like?
I read the questions first, and then I go back and read the story.
Okay.
Um,
And do you find that's helping you, do you think?
I find it helps, but sometimes the story just seems to drag out, and I think I lose interest and I lose focus because it just seems to be so long. I think that's the biggest hurdle for me.
Yeah, that's incredibly natural. I mean, the passages are written to be boring and to be confusing. And so you've got to find a way to get yourself interested in it. I often recommend caricaturing or exaggerating the different viewpoints being presented in the passage in order to make it a little bit more relatable. And where did you come across the idea to read the questions before the passage?
I Googled it, and that was like one of the couple of the top answers that I found when I had Googled like how to do well in the reading comprehension. That was something that constantly came up a few times.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I know there are some people out there who recommend it. I personally, I don't think it's that useful because you're always looking to walk away from the passage with the same thing, which is the main idea, the primary purpose, the author's opinion. That's what you want to take away from the passage, regardless of what the other questions are. The detail-oriented questions, you can always go back for the answers to them when you need them. You can always return to
Okay.
the passage. But for your initial read, if you walk away with the main idea, you've already got a good number of questions taken care of.
Okay. So that's something to try then. All right. I never thought about that. So your suggestion is to read the passage first and then go to the questions?
Exactly. Read the passage, extract the main idea, and summarize the different viewpoints either on the scratch paper or just mentally, and then use that information to knock out all of the general global questions in the passage.
Okay. Okay. Where is it like, okay, so I guess the second question for you would be in order to try to enroll in 2020 law school, I was attempting to take the March LSAT. Is that a bad assessment of myself to try to take the one in March to enroll for 2021?
Some schools will take the March LSAT, but it is after some schools' deadlines. The deadlines are often soft deadlines, though, so you could still apply to a lot of schools with March scores. The downside is there might be less scholarship money available, and it's a little bit tougher to get in. But if you get a high enough LSAT score, that could outweigh the disadvantage of applying later. Or if you're open to it, you could just delay a cycle, which I know nobody ever wants to do, but applying at the beginning of the cycle does have some advantages.
Okay, so what would be the beginning of the cycle?
The beginning is typically September. So you could take the LSAT anytime. You could even take it on Monday. You could take it in the January LSAT if you're ready, if you're feeling ready for that. But then you wouldn't need to apply until the fall. Applications typically open in September. You could apply then to start law school the following fall.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and you're suggesting the March, if I could score high enough, it would be okay.
Yeah, if you could score high enough, it would be all right, but you're better off waiting if you're willing to.
Waiting a cycle.
Exactly.
Um, so for the practice test that everyone talks about, is there a certain type of scoring I should be looking to get right or wrong? Like, how do I know I'm improving? That's my biggest. I'm not really sure when I'm improving. My score seems to go up and then it seems to go down and fluctuate. Like, it's never a steady score.
Yeah, fluctuations are normal. They're to be expected because the tests do have little variations between them. And you also vary from day to day, depending on how you slept, to what extent you're feeling distracted, to what extent you're in the zone. All of those things can have an impact. Some exams have harder games, some have harder reading comp. Overall, it evens out, but variation's normal. Now, you can measure yourself by taking a timed exam every week or two. Once you've built a strong foundation, then you could track those over time. And gradually, I would, of course, hope to see that the scores go up, but it can take time. Just one or two exams going up or down doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Okay. So what is a good way to build a strong foundation when you're studying for the LSATs?
So There's a study program I recommend called the LASER approach to LSAT studying. And LASER is an acronym standing for Learning, Accuracy, Sections, Exams, and Review. So learning is theory, reading textbook chapters, watching videos covering the basics. Then accuracy is doing individual questions by type to learn what each question is asking you to do. S is for sections, which is individual timed 35-minute sections. E is for exams and endurance, which are those full-length 5-section exams. And R is for detailed review of everything you get wrong and everything you have difficulty with. And so the earlier phases, the L and the A for learning and accuracy, that's building the foundation where you are learning the basics of what the exam involves before you do your timed work.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that helps. So as far as the coaching, do you do like the one-on-one individual coaching for the LSATs?
Yeah, I do. I work with a very small number of students one-on-one. I also have courses that include live online classes and Q&As, as well as group coaching as well.
So how would I try to be a part of that coaching? Because right now I feel like I'm trying to. My main goal is to really score high. That I didn't have the best GPA coming out of college, which was really to me a bad GPA. So I'm trying to figure out get as much coaching as possible to try to score as high as I can on my LSAT, so I can even be looked at by law schools.
Yeah, sure. And coaching is certainly beneficial because you can't see your own blind spots. And so someone like myself who's been doing this for a long time, we can talk through the problems that you're having and figure out a plan of attack for you to address those. And so I can send you some more information about the course and the coaching if you'd like to find out more, and then we can explore that down the line.
Yeah, I would love to. So just because I've been studying on my own, but I'm not. I think coaching will help me just kind of elevate to that next level. Because I am going to take it in March. I'm just not sure. And like you said, if I could just wait the second cycle just to apply. So I would like to be, try to score as high as I possibly can for that, prepare for that March LSAT.
Yeah, March is a good one because you could apply this cycle if you really wanted to, knowing the downsides, but you could also take that March score and apply next cycle. It will still be valid. So there's no downside.
Okay.
And if you decide to go for next cycle, you could then potentially retake in the summer or in the fall if you wanted to.
Okay. Now, when you retake, do they add? How does that affect you when you retake the LSATs?
Yeah, there's a lot of mythology around this and outdated information. Law schools do not average multiple LSAT scores. They only take the highest. So there's not really much downside to retaking because if you do worse, no big deal. And if you do better, you reap all the gains. So a 160 followed by a 170 would count as a 170. Obviously, it's better to take it once and get a 170 than twice with a 160 and 170 following. But regardless, 170 is 170. And so there's major benefits to retaking if you can improve it all.
Oh, okay. That I feel a lot better about that. Okay. So I think that's pretty much all the questions that I have for you. You'll send me the information for the coaching, and yeah. I mean, I went through the reading comprehension. So, do you have any more advice on getting better at the reading comprehension? I know you told me to read the passage first, but is there anything else that you can suggest that I could incorporate that would help me a little bit more with the reading comprehension?
Yeah, sure. I've got a lot more detail on this on the YouTube channel. I have a whole reading comprehension playlist that contains far more detail than I can go into now. But one quick thing I'll say is take fewer notes. The students who do the best take very little in the way of notes or none at all because it takes time to write things down. It takes time to read them. And especially now with the digital LSAT, you're doing your note taking on the scratch paper to the side. That's a lot of back and forth. So I would really try to minimize that.
Try to minimize those things. Okay, I never thought about that. That's awesome. Okay, well, that is all. I don't have any more questions, so I thank you for taking the time to answer. Do you have any questions for me, or?
Yeah, just one final thing before we sign off. What would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
The reading comprehension and you cleared up the myth of the score. I think the way you told me to go about the reading comprehension, I'm going to incorporate that. And to me, that was the biggest insight. Because I would take your advice. You seem pretty knowledgeable. So I think that for me is going to be a major game changer because I was taking a lot of notes. And so what you said was taking less notes, I feel like is going to help. So I'm going to take less notes and just read, as you suggested, the passage first and then go to the opposite way. So I think I'm just going to flip the way I was doing it, which is what you suggested. So
great. Well, I'm really glad we connected. Please keep in touch and let me know if you need anything as you move forward.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.